Ladies and gentlemen, I spent my entire adult life in the company of criminals. In fact, a good part of my teenage years as well, in the company of criminals. And for that reason, the RCMP decided they would recruit me because they felt that I had some skills that they could use.
I've seen Chris speak many, many times. He is an absolutely dynamic speaker. He's full of energy. He just radiates charisma, and he knows what he's talking about.
Here is a man with this long history of working in an area where none of us have been able to experience it, and it's fascinating. I mean, we call him, he hates it, but I call him the James Bond of Canada. I mean, he hates that, but that's the only way I can sort of describe it.
No, Chris is most unconventional because he brings to the podium his own experience. To use the vernacular, he's been there, done that, and bought the T-shirt.
Okay, guys, take your hand, take the dessert fork. You know, the old joke, take your hand, put your hand like this, put the dessert fork over your eyes. I say, okay, you don't listen to what I got to say to you. This is the view you're going to have for the next 10 to 15 years.
He really has the ability to bring people to that story. And it's not remote, it's not arm's length. You feel that you are right there with him in that context.
And this is the problem, ladies and gentlemen, is that because of the regulatory framework, bad people, their money still has to flow. Every time a bad thing happens that generates money, that money has to flow. It has to be laundered. And the fact that we have legislation makes it difficult. When I laundered money for the governments in the United States and Canada, and when I laundered money for drug traffickers, I used to charge them around 8 to 10% to move their money, plus a substantial foreign exchange piece too. Made $37 million in my first year. That went into the general revenue account, and you all got 1 penny off your income tax. 8 to 10%. Go and see someone like me now, today, here in Quebec City, and he will charge you north of 20% for that. Why? Because it's harder to do.
You know, I think that the most you should pull out of this is 100 US, or you're going to get just smacked. Also, we start moving these large amount of cash around. This is not the time when you need heat.
Every time we do it, we're breaking.
Well, yeah, we're breaking banking breaks every time we flip it, but maybe you should start your own kind of like little mutual fund here. You get these guys to invest, right? This has got potential. We get a mutual fund running. Okay, we set it up.
So Chris can take very complex issues and tell the story about those complex issues in very meaningful ways, simple, straightforward ways, but ways in which people get it.
How many people in the room, by the way, have ever bought a stock without knowing exactly what the company did? Come on, be honest. Before we go farther, day traders. You know, we're going to talk about scams here and people forcing the price of stock up and down and how they do that. I was talking to some day traders the other day, and some of these guys are pretty smart, and they watch the market, and they can pretty well smell the scams, the washes, the shorts. And I said to the guy, you guys watch out for these kinds of things? Are you concerned about that? He said, no, we really like them because we follow them. We see a fraud, we know, we'll just play it. We don't really care about the stock. It's sort of like gambling. And a lot of guys are making a lot of money just following these trends.
Is Canada really at that much risk as, let's say, our neighbors to the south right now?
Prior to 9/11, the most significant terrorist act in history took place here, or started here, which was the Air India bombing. We are also the host of all sorts of American multinational corporations. And we are a target, notwithstanding what most Canadians think. Overseas, they don't discern that much of a difference, particularly in the Middle East, between Canada and the United States.
Yes, Chris has been likened to being a human chameleon. He's very good at picking up on the environment, picking up on the culture, and he's a man of many faces. I mean, when you see him talking a language other than English, he almost takes on the persona of that national character. I mean, he's totally fluent in French. He seems to be able to hold his own in Italian, in Spanish. He claims he can speak Mandarin. I mean, he can certainly order a meal in a Chinese restaurant, but how far it goes, I don't know. But he's just remarkable when it comes to these types of skills.
Crooks love Canada. They love it here. You know, when I was a Mountie, I used to meet a lot of guys in various places. I used to like to travel and go to these different countries. And all the bad guys always wanted to meet in Canada, you know, in the winter. And I was always suggesting NASA and places like that. And the reason they did is well, we don't want to meet in the United States because if we get caught there, we're going to jail.
He is able to present in such a way that he marries sort of the storytelling or the anecdotal piece of his presentation along with the very practical and theoretical. So you have a huge sense of this individual having great depth and experience, but at the same time he's hugely entertaining because he loves to talk from story, which is exactly what people want when they're in that kind of an environment.
I did a lot of work, undercover work on homicides, where we'd do old homicides and try and get guys to confess. And one of the scenarios that we always used to use was the Mr. Big scenario, where I would pretend to be this big gangster, and we'd bring in this guy who'd killed someone, and I would try and engage him to kill somebody else. Usually this one friend of mine, Mike Ritchie, we killed him about 10 times. But anyway, he's still alive, I'm happy to report.
Given his experience as an investigator, those are the kinds of things, particularly the issue of money laundering and fraud, are where his experience comes from. So he knows about that about which he speaks. He understands these people, and throughout it all, which I suspect is the key, he's managed to keep his sense of humor.
I pretended to be a bad person many times, and I understand the way they think. And here's what's going to happen. If you've got something in your head that I want, or if you can help me, and I want you to help me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you in a position where you have no choice. If I want something from you, Larry, I'm going to send a girl to see you, and I'm a professional. She's not going to be some twist, as my father used to say. This is going to be a girl who is very professional, knows what she's doing. You will not be able to resist her. And if you do, I'll send another one. And if you do, I'll send two at the same time. But I will get you, because that's what I do, because I'm a bad man. You have the formula for Pepsi. I want it. I'm going to do this. They're going to get it out of you somehow. This won't be lost on you. You're the victim. And I'm going to make you do what you got to do. You will do what I ask. So, gentlemen, here's what I want you to do to prevent this from happening to you. Tomorrow morning, when you get up here in this hotel, and you get out of the shower, and you're naked as the day you came into this world, I want you to take the towel, and I want you to wipe down that mirror so you can see very clearly and put your glasses on. Then I want you to do your 3 best poses. And I want you to ask yourself this. Do I look like Brad Pitt? You're all very good-looking men, but I think the answer is likely going to be no. So if you're out someplace doing something some night, and somebody starts treating you like you do look like Brad Pitt, wake up.
Almost no one is incorruptible.
And you tell a really funny story. I'm going to let you tell it. One day you're giving a speech in a hotel in Panama City.
I'm giving the speech, and I said, for example, I was talking about a real estate scam that you can use to launder money. I said, well, let's say, for example, this hotel was owned by drug traffickers, and in fact it was, because the whole place erupted in laughter. I only got the joke afterwards, but they thought I was pretty hip that I knew about the local lore.
I've actually shared a podium with Chris Mathers, and one of the decisions I've come to in my life is I'm not going to do it again, because I think I'm a good speaker, but Chris is just dynamite that he blows everybody away. He's so entertaining. He's a lot of fun. Excellent.
Chris is an outstanding speaker. I've had to follow him on many occasions, and it's a difficult thing to do.
Yes, kids, dogs, and Chris, actually. I think that's the right quote.
I said at the outset that I spent my entire life in the company of criminals, which I did. You've also noticed that in the course of today's speaking engagement, I've tried to make eye contact with almost every one of you in the room and try to remember your face. That's what I do. That's my job. That's my life. I don't like to get shot or hurt. I like to remember who's who. My skills, according to my significant other, she says they are not what they once were. I think she's referring to my memory. I would say this to you, though. If I'm walking down the street in Canada, United States, and I travel all over the world, and you see me, and I don't recognize you from the big FEI conference in Quebec City, please come up and say hello. I would ask you to do that. I'd ask you not to run up. It's been such a pleasure to come here to this beautiful city and see all of you. I wish you all well, and I wish you happiness for you and your families. Thank you very much for your time. You've been a wonderful audience, and I will take some questions if you like. Also, I wrote this book. I brought some copies. If you want to buy it, I'm outside. I'll sign it for you. I take checks. Who cares? Thank you.
Dead smart and tough. He's one of the most dangerous men I know. Thank God he's on the side of the good guys. Do you want to fight?
Pour blanchir de l'argent, faut que ça vienne de quelque chose dedans. Et chaque
Because when you get involved in